Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and certified leadership trainer, Dom Brightman. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North podcast, we got one heck of a super special, awesome treat for you today, because my goodness, this is actually, man, we're looking forward to this one because my goodness, she's a fellow GMT or fellow John Maxwell team member. And not only that, she's one of the founding members, y'all. That's right. One of the original few hundred actually certified first under him. She's actually a former youth minister to boot, and she's also a chemist, former high school and collegiate basketball coach. And not only that, she's spoken to over 37,000 project managers. You heard that right, folks, 37,000. So just count how many midlife crises that is if you divide all that in there. So my goodness, she's been making all sorts of waves, y'all. I'm telling you, making all sorts of waves. And she owns her own business, and she's a renowned neuro-axiologist and is passionate about inspiring audiences to think better, live bolder, and smile brighter as they achieve more of what they want out of life. And funny enough, in the Bible says it's not too bad for a girl who was afraid of public speaking until the year 2006. So let's give it up for the one, the only TD herself, or should I say the true TD that matters right now for the next 90 years, Traci Duez. How you doing today, Traci?
Hey, Dom, what an introduction. That's awesome. I'm doing great. Great to be here.
Oh, yeah. It's great to have you in. That's right. Great to have you here. That's right. That's right, indeed. Fellow believer, fellow JMTer, fellow author. That's right. Kick butt chick in entrepreneurship, fempreneur. Goodness. And you're actually, I think you're the second person here, or was that? That might have been Dr. I forgot what his exact degree was, but I think you're the first one who actually has a degree in chemistry on this show.
Wow. Look at that. Huh? Chemistry. I know. I don't know what happened there. Something did, but yeah. Then I went and was going to get my master's in athletic coaching. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I guess I just liked a little bit of everything. So, and then most of my career was spent in information technology. So all over the place.
Ah, yeah, that's right. All over like a good bagel with all the cream cheese. That's right. All over indeed.
Yes, that's my definition of a bagel. It's just a vehicle to get the cream cheese into my mouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this was definitely gonna be gold. My goodness. But my goodness, speaking of gold and all sorts of vehicles, like what inspired you to really get the degree in chemistry? Like, was it something spicier than just general studies that were basically an athlete basically all your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. My dad always told me that I had to go to school, get a degree, get a good job, and then, help him retire. And that was what I needed a good job for. And then he told me, hey, look, once you're making $100,000 a year, you'll have it made. And so anyways, part of that was first step was going to college. And the only reason I wanted to go to college was to play college basketball. But I had to major in something. And my chemistry teacher in high school, he wasn't a normal guy. First of all, he said, a lot. And we would just do little tick marks on our little piece of paper of all the times he said, but nonetheless, what he did was he taught us chemistry using real life stuff. Like chemistry had to do with how the television worked and how the refrigerator worked and how a nuclear reactor worked and just how stuff worked in the chemistry behind it. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so if that's what chemistry is about, I'll go to school and get a degree in it. And I did. And I was originally pre-med until I went to like a practical kind of thing that they had as a freshman where you got to, follow the doctors around. And then let's just say a patient walked in that I would never have wanted to touch. So I just said, maybe being a doctor isn't for me, because really you shouldn't run away from your patients just because of things you don't like, like in this case, he was a very large man who hadn't bathed for a while. And like, I'm not, I was 17, so please don't judge. But I was just like, I don't want to touch where he needs to be touched. So I'm just going to be a chemist and just get rid of this pre-med stuff. So yeah.
Oh no, I fully understand what you mean. It's like, oh God. Like that's probably one of the good thing about the masks these days is that it protected us a little bit from, folks who would do the cigarette smokes if you get a little too close. And of course, sometimes if folks got a little too happy away from bathing, which you shouldn't get too happy about.
But it has happened in COVID. Yes. And people have posted, yeah, they're proud of it too. So yes, I know what you mean, Dom. Yes, you do as well. We're on the same wavelength here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So my goodness. That's it. That's freaking awesome. Sounds like your dad had a great sense of humor too.
Yes, he still does. Although I wish he had more of a filter sometimes when we're out at restaurants. But yes, he does have a great
Like that, the best part about, aging is where you get to a certain age, you'd be like, oh yeah, filter's one of those. I'm twice a child now. I guess see this is the discounts.
Exactly, Dom. Exactly. I'm with you. Yes. Good analogy there. Yes. Oh.
Oh my goodness. Well, finding out what you didn't want to do as a part of finding out what you wanted to do, and heck, I guess with all those years getting that degree, it's like, oh, I guess I got the degree in chemistry, got into the IT field. Like, how did that transition happen? Was it something, I don't know, did it just fall into your lab, or was it something you just had to look for?
No, it wasn't either. Well, I guess here's what happened. I was a lazy chemist, Dom. And so I was working at Abbott Labs in Columbus, Ohio. It was Ross Bacon testing baby formulas and Ensure and other products. And I was in charge of setting up a new lab, which meant they gave me like a little bit of money to buy some instruments and, beakers and flasks and stuff like that. And so I did all that. But I had some extra money left over after I bought some of the instrumentation, and I saw this thing. It was a Zymark robot that could actually do the extractions and stuff with little syringes and little test tubes for me. And so I'm like, okay, that's really cool. And so I bought one of those, and I had to program like the different reagent mixtures and all that kind of stuff on a 3.25 inch or 3.5 inch floppy disk. So it wasn't really floppy. That was a 5.25 that was floppy, but a 3.5 inch floppy disk. I had to program that on a computer, take it over to this thing, this robot, put the disk in, press a button, and then it did all the work for me in terms of all the extractions and stuff. And so then what I did with it put it in little vials, and I injected it into all those machines that you see like on CSI and stuff like that, and that Abby had on NCIS. And so that happened. And then a piece of paper spit out of the computer, right, with the results on it. And I checked the controls, and I was like, oh, okay, those are good. And then I'd have to take that piece of paper and go over to another computer and type the results into the database. And I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why can't I just get this computer to put the results into that computer? And so my laziness got me in touch. I mean, I was a little bit of a nerd, chemistry nerd, but it got me in touch with the geeks over in IT. And I said, woo, dudes, can you get this machine to put the results into this machine? And they're like, yeah, we just need an A to D converter, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, doesn't matter. Can you do it? Yeah. And so, we did that. And so basically, what was supposed to be a lab that employed about 4 people doing different stuff, it went down to a lab that only had 1. But you're not allowed to have labs with just 1 person for safety reasons. So anyways, I kind of worked myself out of a job there. And then I thought, well, this is kind of cool. People like this interfacing and this IT stuff. So what happens when you become known for something like laboratory informatics and things like that is that you become a consultant. So that's what I did. I quit Abbott and I started working for all the other different pharmaceuticals, Pfizer and pharmacy, and some of them that aren't even around anymore. And so then I was in IT from that time on with looking at connecting different laboratory information management systems to different analyzers. So yeah, that's it. And then I was stuck in IT for the duration of my corporate career.
Oh man, but hey, seems like it all worked out. Definitely with the lady standing before me at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm a nerd and a geek all wrapped up into one. And those are the kind of people I work with in my business too. So it's fun.
Hey, well, like I say, geeks are freaking awesome, nerds are freaking awesome because they gave us iPhones. So, like, hey,
That's
yeah, like all hail the geek. I'm telling you, that's right.
right. Yes. Yes.
That's
Uh-huh.
right. And I guess that makes you a sporty geek with the sports background to boot. So that makes you kind of a unicorn before an actual unicorn became a popular metaphor the past few years.
That's true. That is so true. Yes. Yes. Some of the clothes I used to wear in 6th grade would have passed for like different rainbow kind of stuff, tie dye kind of things. But that was many years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Unicorn. That's a good one. So
Yeah, that's right. And what's even more interesting about you is that you actually had a past life as a youth minister. So how did that
yeah.
even come into play? The love of sports, then getting a degree in chemistry, becoming a lazy chemist, then getting into the IT field, and like all this
Yeah.
wonderful stuff. Like, how did that even happen? Like, do you just have like a vision board of all the interests, or like a bucket list, or like a fully living list, or something of stuff you want to do?
What? No, I never had any of those, but I that was kind of an accident too. I was going, I had moved to Orlando. One of the reasons why I wanted to be a consultant is because when I was little, we didn't have much money. And so we didn't get to go to Disney World, but I always wanted to go to Disney World. And so I thought to myself, listen, if we can't go, I'm just going to live there one day. And so that was my goal when I became a consultant and I could live anywhere, work from home. Back before COVID and it was a thing. I got a job where I could work from home and I moved to Orlando. And I was there and I started to go to just a tiny church. We met in a school, you know, an interdenominational Christian church. And I always liked kids. I always liked sports. So I thought, you know what, let me just go. And I was just visiting the youth ministry. There was probably about 7, 8 kids there. And the day I showed up, the pastor's brother who was running the youth ministry announced that he was quitting, like in front of everyone. So the pastor, his brother, and then I was the only other adult there, and the rest were the kids. And so I thought, well, that's weird. And so the pastor said, hey, I wanted you to meet Traci. She was interested in helping out with the youth ministry. And yeah, you know what happened the next week? Yeah, it was. God is so weird like that. Why? Yes. So, anyways, I did that for about a year and a half or 2 years, which is we were talking right before the show. That's where I met John Maxwell the first time. He was still in ministry. He was teaching other youth pastors and speaking and doing all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I met him. I met him at a Acquire the Fire conference in Tampa, Florida. While the kids were listening to bands, I was outside listening to John Maxwell. And I still think I got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, indeed. The better end, indeed, with all the butter. That's right. Or should I say better and not butter, I should say. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. I just love it when you get voluntold into things.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it worked out. It worked out. It was a blessing for me, being able to do that and to grow, to see what it's like to grow a youth ministry. And I mean, I had never done anything like that. I mean, I was raised Catholic and you just went to catechism because you had to go. I mean, there wasn't there was no singing or anything. It was just learning stuff. And then you left and went to confirmation. Anyways, this was a blast. We had beach days. I taught kids how to be student leaders, and we had in-home ministries where they were student led. And it was a blast. Learned so much during that time.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, do you still consider yourself a Catholic today, or has the faith walk changed?
I think I'm a recovering Catholic. No, no. I think I don't know. Yeah, I'm a Catholic without the guilt. I think which is just a Christian. I think that's mainly what that turns into.
All right, cool. Yes, indeed. The reason why I ask, because if anyone's a Christian, you're always welcome them to share about their faith, how they came to the Lord too. Because I want fellow Christians to have that opportunity to share the voices out there. So if you want to share anything about that for the Christians out there who maybe want to know a little more about the walk, that maybe need some encouragement too on their journey, especially nowadays when things are getting more crazy, as they may seem that they may be getting back to quote unquote normal.
Yes, normal. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great question, Don. When it comes to my walk with faith, it's been very hard. From about pretty much the sixth grade, I knew that, I was told that I was an abomination because I was gay. And so, I mean, I just knew in sixth grade that I wanted the Charlie's Angels posters. I did not want the Andy Gibb or, any of those other posters. I wanted those ones. And so I don't know where that came from, but I tried most of my life to sort of like pray that away, and to try to fix it. But one of the things that I learned when I started going to more Bible-oriented churches was that you could, like, prayers weren't just you reciting rote prayers, which is what I thought from the Catholic Church, right, over and over again, but that you could actually listen as well. It was a conversation. And when I realized it was a conversation, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And there's this book called Hearing God, and the author's name is Peter Lord, which is like weird. Like, how would a Peter Lord wrote a book Hearing God? That's so awesome. Anyways, so I listened. I read that book, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do that. And I still prayed those same prayers that God would somehow change me. But then I listened, and it was plain as day. Like, he didn't make a mistake. And so I was actually a youth pastor at that a church in Orlando, and the pastor of the church was riding his bike and came by my house. We lived in the same neighborhood, and saw that I was living with my girlfriend at the time. And about 3 weeks later, I was no longer the youth pastor at the church. And that took, I think, more faith than anything else, right? Because that was a man's decision. And I knew that that there was still something in my beliefs, right? That was way, people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Are you mad? No, I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all. As a matter of fact, you can serve anywhere, right? And if that wasn't my place because of other decisions, man-made decisions, that's okay. You can serve by doing anything. So that's kind of been my walk in a very shortened version from Catholicism through Christianity and to where I am today, just still very much believer and just wanting to share that aspect of life, that spiritual aspect of life with people.
There we go, indeed. There we go, indeed. Hey, I guess he signed up for it. He volunteered you since his brother quit. So,
Exactly. Exactly. He didn't ask questions. He just voluntold me. And then voluntold me, I guess, or unvoluntold me. I don't even know the proper conjugation of that. Unvoluntold me. Yes.
Oh, that's a new one.
Yes.
Oh God. Yes, indeed. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Oh my goodness. So with all this wonderful living and serving that you do now, it's you're being a wonderful consultant, helping out the masses and the molasses and accumulating over 100 plus referrals for all the wonderful work that you do. You also talk about neuro-axiology. So what the heck is that for those who may not know what the heck that is?
Well, okay. Yeah. Neuroaxiology is a blend of two sciences. Neuroscience, of course, is basically, you know, how your brain works. And axiology is a science that's it's axio means value. So it's the study of human value and human value judgments. And most people, when they get acquainted with it or read about it or whatever, they think it's based in psychology or some kind of behavioral science, but it's actually based in math, which
Hmm.
is why it appealed to the nerdy, geeky person like me. And axiology is just really based on how do we generate and create the greatest value. And there are natural laws to value generation, just like there's natural laws to flying an airplane, right? Aerodynamics. We have value dynamics as well. And when you understand those laws, by the way, they they are in complete alignment with whatever you'd read in the Bible or any of the other religious writings, right? They it talks about the higher and a hierarchy of value, that there's really three dimensions. And when you can learn to think according to the hierarchy of value, you're going to be generating more value in the world, which usually comes back to you in return. When you transpose value, put something of lower value above something of higher value, you diminish or destroy the value that's intended or the value in the world. And so when I realized that this science was out there, I was the director of an IT consulting company, and I had some amazingly gifted technical people in my organization. And we were a consulting company. Yet I couldn't put them in front of people because they didn't know how to like talk to other human beings and share what they were doing and how much of a genius they were. And so I started weaving axiology into some of the leadership stuff I was doing. And I showed them how mathematically the plan that we're following is the lowest dimension of value. It's just something we created in our heads. What we create from the plan, measurably, tangibly, our iPhone or whatever, you have the plan for an iPhone, but you actually create one, that's worth more. So when you go from systemic value to extrinsic value, it's worth more. But that's not the be all end all. That's what we're told in school, that that's what you do. You learn something, you apply it, you learn something, you apply it. The true highest value is the intrinsic value. It's the infinite value. So sure, you have a plan for an iPhone, it's worth something. You actually create one and they're now worth what? $1,000. Can you believe you pay $1,000, Dom? $1,000, Dom, for these things?
Mm-mm.
Really?
And the
However,
contracts involved.
right, exactly, to get service to it, right? So you're paying for that. And yet you do. Why? Because you believe it's worth more. And in fact, it is. The intrinsic value that you get from your phone is, well, intrinsic is priceless. It's infinitely valuable. So as we've been through this pandemic, right? My mother-in-law passed away during the pandemic. And if you know, we can't go to the hospital. We couldn't be there. And so all we had was this. All we had was FaceTime. And so we got to be with her virtually. We got to say goodbye. We got, those kinds of things that we couldn't do in person. Who wouldn't pay $1,000 for that? Right? And so when we understand those three dimensions of value, and that people are more important than products and products are more important than plans, for instance, then, and we value in that order, we're going to be able to create a great deal of value. But it's really about the human experience of the product. That's the most valuable thing. And so that's what I teach nerdy, geeky people like myself who think like that the technology is the greatest thing on the planet. But really it's what the technology does for others. And and how it changes the human experience.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Very powerful example right there. Very powerful example, especially having the wonderful device with you as proof. Yes, indeed. That's right. It's like watching a master at work, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. That's right. A master at work, y'all. She's getting touchdowns all day, y'all. I'm telling you.
Indeed.
That's right. It's like she has the best offense in NFL right now, y'all, with all these gems she's dropping, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. It's like 40 to like 14 all day with this. And she's the one dropping 40 points, y'all. I'm telling you. It's good stuff. It's good stuff indeed. So speaking of dropping good stuff in all of these interviews you've been on, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
Well, yeah, yeah, that's a good question to ask. Sure. And it really has to do with applying a lot of what we can learn, right? So I can show you mathematically about this hierarchy of value, but then what do you do with it, right? And because I think that's what it's all about. Sure, we can all learn stuff and we can listen to amazing podcasts like yours, but what are we going to actually do with it? And for me, that's everything. I mean, if you listen to this and you don't do anything differently afterwards, I mean, maybe you were entertained for a little while, but other than that, what value is there? And so I like to show people how to use this hierarchy of value and how axiology can be used. And for your guests, we can even give them a kind of a test drive. There's an assessment that you can take that measures your thinking habits, not your personality, not your behaviors. We've all taken those in the past, but this one actually measures how you make choices, how you make value judgments. And so all you have to do is take 10 minutes to rank 2 sets of 18 items, from the best, most valuable thing at the top to the worst, most despicable thing at the bottom. Because there's some really weird things on the list, Dom. Like, I mean, there's some good things on the list, like a good meal, a baby, right? With this ring I thee wed. There's some good things on there. And then there's some like other things on there where we're trying to see if you can tell which are the worst, like slavery, burning a heretic at the stake, torturing a person in a concentration camp, like things like that. Like which one? And so we ask you to rank those, which is the best, and all the way down to which is the worst. And there's 2 sets of them, because one measures how you see the world and one measures how you see yourself in the world. And when you do this assessment, you get to figure out where your best thinking is and what perspective you can take. Because I don't know if you've ever done this, Dawn, but have you ever had to make a decision and you were unsure?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, sometimes just have to say, screw it, let's do it and just pick something.
Right, exactly. Because sometimes we have 2 kind of contradictory thoughts, or we're able to look at things from 2 different perspectives. And it's like the proverbial angel on one shoulder, devil on the other, right? And so you look over and you see the angel and you're like, hey, what you got? And then they give you something. And then you look over to the other shoulder and it's the devil dressed up like an angel. And you're like, crap, who's the right one? Okay, what do you got? And now you're back where you were at the beginning. Well, what if we could discern which of your thoughts came from your best perspectives and which came from, well, maybe some of your biased perspectives? Well, that's what we can do, and we can measure that. And once you understand that, you can start to use your best thinking to make better choices. And as you mentioned in the intro, I used to be so afraid to speak in front of people. I used to just tremble and maybe have to run to the bathroom. I didn't know which end it was going to come out of, but I did have to run to the bathroom before I would give a talk. And that was because I was listening to the thoughts from the devil, from a narrow perspective. And when I learned to shift and ask myself questions and be able to think from that more balanced perspective, within 4 months, I was speaking in front of 65 people one night, 100 people the next night. And then it just grew from there to the 40,000 people I've talked in front of so far.
Yeah, that's right. The tree swag, indeed. The growth. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about right there, indeed. Because it's so darn powerful right there. So this assessment sounds like a, a solo game of Cards Against Humanity.
That is hilarious. I have never heard that. I love your perspective, Dom. That a solo game. I love that. That's right.
Yeah, because when you listen to the worst, I'm like, oh, so this is Cards Against Humanity here. All right, wow.
Yes, it really is. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, heavens. But it's all based in math, right? So we're going to compare your personal hierarchy of value in your Cards Against Humanity against the mathematical hierarchy of value. Where they match up, you see value really well. Where they're a little out of whack, well, you can just blame that on your mother. I blame my bad habits on my mom. She's heard me speak, so she's okay with it. And she even says, like, if you have some really bad habits and you don't feel like blaming you could blame my mother as well. She's okay with it. She was not gonna, but yeah, I mean, think about it. When I was growing up, I was the oldest of 4 girls, and I mentioned I was raised Catholic. My mom is the Italian Catholic mom, and so she had me when she was 18. She got married when she was 17 in high school. Don't worry, she was a good Catholic girl. She had me when she was 18. She had my sister when my next sister 362 days later. So we're the same age for 3 days. And then she had my next sister a year and a half later. And then she had my other sister 3 years later, or 2 years after that. So here's my mom, 23 years old, with 4 girls under the age of 5, right? Or 5 and under. And so when we used to go to the grocery store, she used to tell us, we used to go to the A&P. You being up in Baltimore, you may have heard of the A&P grocery store back in the day, the Atlantic. So we would go to the grocery store and she'd tell us, don't talk to strangers. Just don't talk to strangers, right? You tell your kids, don't talk to strangers. I mean, she had 4 girls plus the groceries that she had to, watch out for and take care of. And so my little brain learned not to talk to strangers, like strangers were dangerous, right? And when you're 4, I think it's a good habit to have, not to talk to strangers. Possibly, right? I mean, my mother did not want her oldest, smartest, and prettiest daughter to be stolen from the mall or the grocery store, right? So I learned not to talk to strangers, but I kept that habit well into my 30s. So I'm the director of an IT consulting company, and I'm still afraid to talk to strangers. And it's public speaking, off the chart. No, there's no, you just don't do that. And so our brain develops these habits usually for a good reason, but when we carry them over to areas where they don't support us, well, they end up getting in our way. So that's what we measure with this assessment. It's not about self-judgment. It's just about self-awareness of what's going on in your head.
Yeah. Another reason why I'm a big fan of Traci now, indeed, because she's all about self-awareness, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. And it's not just because of those pearly whites she has, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. That's right, indeed. That's right. Whiter than Apple earbuds, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. The good stuff, indeed. Yeah. That's indeed. Yeah, because it's so true. And that's kind it at the time, it's like, yeah, your 4-year-old daughter, you wanted to stay safe, and you're a young mom with 4 daughters, like, oh God, no. Especially, oh God, nowadays. Like back then, it's like, oh, one thing, but now it's like, oh God, even worse. And it's just you just want them to be safe, but at the same time, it's like that can hinder growth or at least put it on pause for a bit. And then as you're growing, or should I say, as you're aging and growing up, it can hinder you from that progress. So, what was that process like of finally dropping that old belief and then transferring it to the new belief of like, hey, strangers are where the wealth is. Strangers are really how I really advance in life.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because truthfully, if I hadn't taken the assessment that I now use and offer, I don't know that I'd have made that change. I'd have probably stayed in some kind of lower manager or individual contributor kind of role in the corporate world. I surely would have never started my own business, right? But the transition happens not when we try to fix what's wrong with us, but when we can learn to capitalize on our best thinking. Because when we can see the world more broadly and more clearly, you start to realize, okay, it's not that bad. So for me, what the assessment measured that I had a low self-esteem, which was true, but I tried to cover it up. So I thought nobody would ever notice. And then it also measured that I had the capacity to nurture other people. I like nurturing others. I was like, what are you talking? Like the assessment totally blew my mind. It measured something. And I looked at that as it was my strength. And I looked at it and I said, that can't even be true. I don't even like people. I mean, they're dangerous. I mean, Dom, why am I even talking to you? Don't tell my mother I'm on your show here. That would just be terrible. She told me not to talk to strangers.
Don't worry, you can just tell her you're talking to a living chocolate Hershey bar. It's okay.
There you go. There you go. So what happens? So the reports and things that we use and the science of neuro-axiology really teaches us how to create new habits, not by fixing the bad ones, but by focusing on the good ones. So when I went to talk in front of people, if I believed in what I did, I believed, okay, maybe nurturing others is a strength of mine. The assessment report gives me some questions to ask myself to center myself into that thinking perspective. And so I had asked myself my centering questions, which would get me to focus on other people. Like, I wonder what they're feeling and experiencing right now. How can I bring greater value to their life? And so now whenever I got up on the stage, instead of thinking, oh, you're such a loser, Traci, which, by the way, what happens when you go to presentation classes, which my bosses always sent me to, they tell you, Traci, if you think you're a loser, tell yourself you're a winner. And so I would, Dom, I would be ready to give my talk in my presentation course, right? And I'd be, you're going to screw this up. You're such a loser. Oh, wait a minute. They told me, oh, I'll go over here. Traci, you're a winner. And then my very next thought, Dom, is, what kind of loser has to tell herself she's a winner?
Yeah.
And so you end up with that little battle again, going back and forth, right? However, if you just ask yourself questions that pull you into the perspective where you think the best, well, there's no battle, because your brain is going to answer a question. It's not going to keep telling you what to do. Nobody likes to be told what to do, but our brain loves to answer questions. So whenever I'd go to get on stage, I would say to myself, hey, I wonder what they're thinking or feeling or experiencing right now. How can I add value to their life? And what it did was I didn't have to fix my self-esteem because I wasn't using it to get on stage. I was using my cognitive assets, my cognitive strengths, to look at this from a different perspective. And after my very first speech at Project Management Institute here in Houston, people were like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And I was like, holy cow, I could have had spinach in my teeth. My zipper could have been down, anything, because I never even thought about or looked at myself, but I was able to engage with the audience, which is, I think, really what it was supposed to be about all along, but it just took me 36 years to figure that out.
Oh, okay. So it took you from the age of 5 till now. I got you.
Exactly. Right. I wish. Yes. Yeah. But when, I mean, you know that too, when you're in the zone and you're using the things that you're good at, right? That, like your sense of humor, right? That you just know, like, that's you, and you feel comfortable there no matter what. I don't know if you've ever done this, but sometimes I love my sense of humor, and I'll tell a joke that just bombs and I'll just be giggling and I don't really care. It doesn't matter, right? Does that ever happen to you, my man? Does that ever happen to you?
Every freaking day, and I love it.
But it doesn't stop you, right? It doesn't stop you, because you know it's a gift. It's an asset of yours. So you keep going. You keep going.
Exactly. And then they laugh after a while because it's like, wait, this guy's maniacal. He just keeps saying more stupid jokes. He just doesn't stop. And then they finally catch on and realize they're genius.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Yep.
That's right. We just have to run laps around them, metaphorically, and they'll eventually catch up. That's all it is. Just takes them a little slower. They probably haven't had their coffee yet.
Exactly. Exactly. Some of them need a couple Red Bulls instead of the coffee, but yeah. There you go. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm.
Although I do say sometimes when they're tired, that's when they're ripe for it.
Well, that's called, they're just giddy, Dom. That's called giddy. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. When they're all slow and defenseless, it's like, what the heck is he saying? Like, oh, darn, I finally caught it. He's so evil and funny at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh my goodness. Well, this is fun on the bun. So my goodness. So do you think you're ever gonna publish any more writings in the future in book form? Because now you had the one that came back out a few years ago. What was it? 2014, if I'm not mistaken, right?
2013. Yes. Yeah. And at the time I thought I would write more, but then I realized the only reason I wrote that one was because people were bugging me to write a book. So it didn't, like, I wanted to write it. And all I did basically was take newsletters that I'd written every month and publish them in the book, in a way that made some sense, I hope. And, but yeah, now I really want to write a book for me, right? Of the stuff that I want to get out, into the world that has made a difference in my life and hopefully will make a difference in a lot of others as well.
Sweet. But whenever it publishes, come on back on. You have a guaranteed podcast appearance waiting for you again. That's right. That's
Awesome.
right. Indeed. That's right. Indeed. That's right. You have your own extra fan now. That's right.
Oh, thanks, Dom. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
One is don't have your dog around when you're podcasting. That would be one. She is going to be barking in any moment. Now, great question. So how old am I? I'm 25 and I still have all my wisdom about me.
Yep, you basically wake up tomorrow to a great reset.
Nice. So, yeah, it is to not worry about what other people think and just be you and try to add value to your life and have all the experiences that you want to have. That's probably it.
Alrighty, woof. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's right. Don't worry about what the folks are thinking. That's right, because if they're thinking, they're really just confused lovers, aka haters. And for those who think you're thinking about them, well, they're probably not even thinking about you at all. So it doesn't even matter. So you either got confused lovers, aka haters, or just people who are just thinking about their next ice cream cone.
Right. That's right. Because most people aren't thinking about you anyways, but you think that they're thinking about you and judging you. And if they are, who cares? And if they aren't, well, that's probably most of them anyways. But listen, I believe we're all created for a reason. And a lot of times we let a lot of noise from outside of us and even from within us get in the way of us just expressing our genius. And so that's my passion in life, is to help people express their genius. So at the end of every day, no matter what has happened, they get to go home feeling fulfilled, feeling like today was a day and it was a gift to them. So that's my goal.
Yeah. That's right, folks. She's a buffet, y'all. That's right. You're gonna leave, huh? You're gonna leave the place fulfilled, y'all. That's right. Filled full. That's right.
Filled full. Yes. But don't eat everything at the buffet. I mean, people don't usually do that. So there's there's a lot, there's a lot here with Dom. So you can't eat everything. You got to pick and choose here. Otherwise you're not going to enjoy anything. You're just going to be filled full, but not fulfilled.
Yeah. That's right. This one gets all the brownie points. That's right. That's right. She gets all the brownies, y'all. I'm telling you. And without the weed. You know what? Screw it. She's gonna get all the brownie points with the weed, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. For those, that means they're the best brownies ever, y'all. That means they're really good brownies, y'all. I'm telling you.
Really good.
Yes, indeed. You're probably like, oh, darn it, Dom, you're lost again. Come back to Earth. Come back
Yeah.
to Earth.
Dom, where are you? Dom. Hello. Calling Dom. Calling Dom. Where are you?
Oh, God. But for those who want to call on Traci and have you speak at their next event, whether it's in person, virtual, or just buy thousands of copies of your current book and probably your future books, what's the best way for folks to keep in contact with you?
Well, you can always find me on LinkedIn. That's usually the easiest. And my name is kind of easy. I think I'm the only Traci Duez out there, at least spelled with an I. And th- that's usually the best way since I'm on there every day. You can reach me there. And then if you guys, if you want to take an assessment, it's you want to try ranking those two sets of 18 items to see how you think, you can go to my VQs, because they're called value judgment quotient. So myvqs.com/podcast and give it a try. And you'll even get some other free goodies too, like a free short online course that teaches you how to use your results. Because remember, I'm all about using them, not just, listening and then saying okay and going about your day. So yeah, that should work.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And not just from 9 to 5, y'all. So go on ahead, head off to those magical links. Check out Traci's site. Follow her on the LinkedIn, y'all. Stay linked in with her indeed. Check out that quiz, that assessment, y'all. See how you rank in the virtual Cards Against Humanity game against yourself, and take that online course indeed so you can mount and do something. That's right, folks. She's all about the do. I guess that's why her last name is Duez, y'all. That's right. Because she is all about the do.
That's right. Do as I say. That's right.
That's right. Do what you say, y'all. That's right. So trust me, you're totally not hypnotized right now. You're totally not going to buy 50 copies of her book on Kindle and give them to people. Trust me. You're totally not going to do it. That's right. That's right. You're totally not going to give her 50 more LinkedIn recommendations. Trust me. I'm telling you. You're totally not going to do it. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Totally not going to do it. But I know what folks are totally going to do is check out your stuff indeed. So, any parting words from the terrific Traci herself before we close up shop?
Well, yeah, I mean, terrific Dom here. I hope that they will all reach out to you as well with all the terrific advice and words of encouragement that you have, as well as if you just need a good laugh, come on, reach out to Dom for that. But for me, I just really want to encourage you to continue to bring your best to the world. And if you're struggling on what that is, or if you feel stuck or anything like that, reach out to me. I'm here for you. That's kind of my specialty, help you get unstuck. Because as I like to tell people, you don't suck. You're just stuck. And we can help you. We can help you do that, because it's all about your brain. Because your thoughts, they lead to your emotions, which your emotion is energy in motion. So that leads to your actions, which leads to your results. So if you're not getting what you want, let's take a look at your thinking and go out there and take that assessment.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode.